Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Best English Podcast. I'm your host, Sophia, and today I am absolutely thrilled to have you join me today. If you're new to our channel, I want to say you didn't find us by accident. You're here because you want to grow, to learn, to become a better version of yourself, and you're not alone on that journey. This is your special place for learning and growing with the English language. I am so happy you have chosen to spend your time with me today. We are going to talk about a very big and exciting topic, something that I know is a dream for many of you. That topic is fluency. How do we become fluent in English? This is a question I hear all the time. Maybe you are asking this question yourself right now. You have been studying for a while. You know some grammar rules. You have a list of vocabulary words, but you still feel stuck. You listen to native speakers and they talk so fast. You try to speak, but the words do not come out right. You feel shy, or maybe even frustrated. If this sounds like you, I want you to take a deep breath. Just breathe in and out. I want you to know that you are not alone. Every single person who has ever learned a new language has felt this way. It is a normal part of the journey. I remember when I was first learning French, I had moved to a small town just outside of Lyon, and I thought my classroom French would be enough, but the reality was so different. I remember going to the local market, the marché, Ides, wanting to buy some cheese. I stood there for what felt like an hour, trying to form the perfect sentence in my head. I could see the cheese. I knew the word for cheese, fromage, but my mouth felt like it was glued shut. The woman behind the counter was busy, talking quickly to other customers, and my fear just grew and grew. Finally, I just pointed and said, that. That. I felt so defeated. All those years of study, and I couldn't even buy a piece of cheese properly. That evening, I seriously thought about giving up, about just staying silent and only going to big supermarkets where I didn't have to talk to anyone. But then I realized that my goal wasn't just to buy things, it was to connect. The next day, I went back. I wrote down what I wanted to say on a small piece of paper. I walked up to the same woman, took a deep breath, and read my sentence. She smiled, corrected my pronunciation gently, and we had a tiny, broken conversation. It was a victory. That small moment taught me that fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to try. Today, we are not going to talk about magic tricks or secret methods that promise fluency in a week. Those things are not real. Instead, we are going to have a long, honest conversation. We will walk together, step by step, through the real path to becoming fluent. Think of this podcast as a long journey we are taking together. We will explore everything, from the way you think about English to the small habits you can build every single day. We will share stories of real people, just like you, who have walked this path and found success. We will talk about the challenges they faced and how they overcame them. We will have detailed explanations, simple and clear, so you can really understand the ideas. And we will do some practice together, right here, as you listen. This will be an active experience. I want you to feel like you are not just listening, but participating. So, find a comfortable place. Maybe you're walking, or driving, or just relaxing at home. Get ready to open your mind and listen. We are going to spend a lot of time together today, going deep into this topic, This is not a short lesson. It is a full, immersive experience designed for you, the dedicated English learner. By the end of our time together, you will have a clear map. You will understand what it truly takes to become fluent. And you will feel inspired and ready to continue your own beautiful journey with English. The path to fluency is not a race. It is a wonderful adventure. And it starts right now. Let's begin with the most important part. The part that comes before any book, any app, or any class. It is the part that happens inside your own mind. Let's talk about your mindset. Your mindset is how you think about learning English. It is your attitude, your beliefs, your feelings. And believe me, it is the foundation for everything else. Without the right mindset, even the best learning methods will not work. I remember a student I once knew named Carlos. Carlos was very intelligent. He bought all the best grammar books. He subscribed to many English learning websites, and he spent hours every day studying. But he was not making much progress, and he was becoming very unhappy. He came to me and said, "Sophia, I don't understand. I am doing everything right. I study grammar rules for hours. I memorize 50 new words every day. But when I try to speak, my mind goes blank. When I listen to a movie, I feel lost. Maybe I'm just not good at languages." I listened to him carefully. The problem was not his intelligence or his effort. The problem was his mindset. He saw learning English as a test that he was failing every day. Every mistake he made felt like a failure. Every word he did not know felt like a weakness. He was putting so much pressure on himself to be perfect. And this pressure was blocking him. It was making him afraid. We talked for a long time. I told him, "Carlos, you need to change the way you see this journey. Learning a language is not like building a machine, where every piece must be perfect. It is more like planting a garden. You plant a seed, you water it, you give it sunlight, and you wait. Some days, you will see a new leaf, and it is a reason to celebrate. Some days, a weed might grow, and you just gently pull it out. You do not get angry at the garden for not being perfect overnight. You enjoy the process of watching it grow." This idea changed everything for Carlos. He stopped focusing on perfection. Instead, he started focusing on communication. He stopped punishing himself for mistakes and started celebrating small victories. For example, one day he successfully ordered a coffee in English. It was a simple conversation, just a few sentences, but for him, it was a huge win. He came to our next class with a big smile. He said, "I did it. The barista understood me, and I understood him. It was not perfect English. I probably made mistakes, but we communicated." That was the turning point. He started to see English not as a school subject, but as a tool to connect with people. He started to have fun. And when he started having fun, his progress skyrocketed. It is so important to have a strong reason, a why, for learning. It is this reason that will keep you going when things get tough. I think of another student, a wonderful woman from Germany named Lena. Lena was in her 60s. Her son had moved to Canada, married, and had 2 children. Lena's grandchildren spoke English, but very little German. Every time she spoke to them on video calls, her son had to translate. She felt a distance, a wall between her and her grandchildren. She desperately wanted to read them a bedtime story, to ask them about their day, to tell them she loved them in their own language. This was her why. It was powerful and full of love. But learning a new language later in life was difficult for her. She often felt overwhelmed. Sometimes she would call me and say, "Sophia, my brain is too old for this." But whenever she felt like giving up, she would look at a photo of her 2 grandchildren on her desk. She would imagine reading a story to them, seeing their happy faces. This powerful emotional connection was her fuel. She wasn't just learning verb tenses. She was building a bridge to her family. She started with simple children's books, practicing reading them out loud every day. Her progress was slow, but it was steady. A year later, she flew to Canada to visit them. She told me when she came back that the best moment of her entire life was sitting with her grandchildren, with no translator, and reading Goodnight Moon to them in English. They understood her, and she understood them. Lena's story teaches us that when your reason for learning is deeply personal and emotional, you can overcome any obstacle. So, the first thing I want you to do is to think about your own mindset. Are you like the old Carlos? Are you putting too much pressure on yourself? Or can you find a powerful why, like Lena did? Let's try to build a new mindset together. A fluency mindset. The first part of this mindset is patience. Fluency does not happen in a month or even in a few months. It takes time. Think about it. How long did it take you to become fluent in your own native language? Years, right? You spent years listening, making mistakes, and slowly, naturally building your skills. You need to give yourself that same gift of time with English. Be patient with yourself. Enjoy the journey. The second part is to celebrate small wins. This is so important. Did you understand a line from a song today that you did not understand last week? Celebrate it. Did you use a new word in a sentence? Celebrate it. Did you listen to this podcast for 5 minutes and understand the main idea? That is a huge victory. Acknowledge it. Feel good about it. These small celebrations build your confidence. They are the fuel that will keep you going when things feel difficult. Let's do a little practice with this idea right now. I want you to pause for a moment and think about your English learning journey so far. Think of one small thing, just one, that you can do now that you could not do a month ago. Maybe you know 10 new words. Maybe you can introduce yourself. Maybe you understand the simple present tense a little better. Whatever it is, no matter how small it seems, I want you to hold that thought in your mind. Feel proud of that progress. That is a small win. That is something to celebrate. This is a habit you should practice every single day. At the end of each day, ask yourself, what is my English win for today? The next part of a fluency mindset is setting realistic goals. Sometimes we get discouraged because our goals are too big and too vague. A goal like, I want to be fluent in English, is not a good goal. Why? Because it is not specific. How do you measure it? When do you know you have achieved it? It is like saying, I want to drive north. You will start driving, but you have no destination. You will just keep going forever. Instead, we need to set SMART goals. SMART is an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Let's break that down. Specific means your goal is clear. Instead of, I want to learn more vocabulary, a specific goal is, I want to learn and be able to use 20 new words related to cooking. See the difference? It is very clear. Measurable means you can track your progress. With the cooking vocabulary goal, you can measure it. You can make a list of the 20 words. You can check them off as you learn them. Achievable means the goal is realistic. It is possible for you to do it. Setting a goal to learn 500 words in one day is probably not achievable. It will only lead to frustration. But learning 20 words in a week, that is very achievable. Relevant means the goal is important to you. It connects to your larger dream. If your why is to connect with your English-speaking family, like Lena, a relevant goal would be, I want to learn the vocabulary to ask my grandchildren about their school day. Your goals should match your life and your reasons for learning. And finally, time-bound means you set a deadline. I will learn these 20 cooking words by next Sunday. This creates a little bit of positive pressure and helps you to stay focused. So, instead of a big, scary goal like become fluent, you can have a series of small, manageable, SMART goals. For example, this month, I will have one 5-minute conversation in English with a language partner each week. Or, this week, I will watch one 20-minute episode of a simple English TV show and write down 5 new phrases I hear. These are goals you can achieve, and each time you achieve one, you build momentum and confidence. You are proving to yourself that you can do it. Now, let's talk about the biggest enemy of a good mindset. Fear. The fear of making mistakes. This fear can paralyze you. It keeps you silent in conversations. It stops you from trying to write an email in English. It whispers in your ear, don't say anything. You will sound stupid. People will laugh at you. Shh. I remember a funny mistake I made while traveling in Australia. I wanted to compliment my host on her dinner. I wanted to say, I'm full, obar ans, meaning I had eaten enough and was satisfied. However, I got confused and said, I'm foolish. My host looked very surprised for a second. And then she realized what I meant and started laughing. She kindly explained the difference. We all had a good laugh. It was a bit embarrassing, but it was also a great story. And I have never, ever confused full and foolish again. Mistakes are memorable. They are powerful teachers. People are usually kind and understanding. That embarrassing moment actually broke my fear. After that, I was less afraid to try speaking, because I realized the worst thing that could happen was not that bad. We are all human. We all make mistakes. So, I want you to reframe how you think about mistakes. A mistake is not a failure. A mistake is proof that you are trying. It is a sign of progress. Every time you make a mistake, you have an opportunity to learn something new. So, be brave. Be willing to sound silly sometimes. Be willing to be corrected. That is how you will grow. Let's try a small practice right now. Think about a mistake you recently made in English. Maybe you used the wrong word or the wrong tense. Instead of feeling bad about it, I want you to analyze it like a detective. Why did you make that mistake? What is the correct way? By thinking about it this way, you turn a negative feeling into a positive learning action. You are taking control. So, to summarize our talk about mindset, it is about being patient, like a gardener. It is about finding your powerful why, like Lena. It is about celebrating your small wins every day. It is about setting clear, smart goals that guide your path. And it is about embracing mistakes as opportunities to learn. If you can build this strong, positive mindset, you have already won half the battle. This is the solid ground upon which you will build your fluency. Now that we have prepared our minds for the journey, let's talk about the tools we need to build our English house. The two most important tools are vocabulary and grammar. These are the bricks and the mortar. You cannot build a strong house without them. But many learners approach them in a way that is not very effective or fun. They try to memorize long lists of unrelated words or study complex grammar rules that they never use. Let's explore a better way, a more natural and meaningful way to build your vocabulary and grammar. Let's start with vocabulary. Words are the building blocks of a language. The more words you know, the more you can express yourself. But there is a difference between knowing a word and being able to use it. We have two kinds of vocabulary, passive and active. Your passive vocabulary includes all the words you recognize when you read or hear them. It might be a very large number of words. Your active vocabulary includes the words you can actually remember and use correctly when you are speaking or writing. This number is usually much smaller. The goal is to move words from your passive vocabulary into your active vocabulary. How do we do this? The key is context. Learning words in isolation from a list is very difficult. It's like collecting bricks but having no idea how they fit together. The brain remembers things much better when they are connected to a story, an image, a feeling, or a situation. So, the best way to learn new words is to learn them in context. This means seeing or hearing them in a real sentence or a real situation. I had a student from Japan named Kenji. He loved American action movies. He wanted to learn English so he could understand the movies without subtitles. At first, he tried memorizing lists of vocabulary. He would write down words like explosion, chase, hero, villain. But he found it hard to remember them. Then, he changed his strategy. He decided to learn vocabulary from the movies themselves. He would watch a short scene from his favorite movie. When he heard a new word or phrase, he would pause the movie. He would write down the entire sentence in a notebook. For example, he heard the hero say, mud. We have to defuse the bomb before it's too late. He did not just write down the word defuse. He wrote the whole sentence. Then, he would look up the meaning of defuse. He learned that it meant to stop a bomb from exploding, because he learned it from an exciting scene in a movie. With the image of the hero trying to save the city, the word stuck in his mind. He could feel the urgency. The word now had an emotion and a picture attached to it. He did this for many words. Soon, he had a notebook full of useful, exciting sentences. And because he learned them in context, he also learned how to use them correctly. He knew that you defuse a bomb, not a car. This is learning in context. Another wonderful example comes from a student named Marco, an Italian chef who moved to London to open a restaurant. He knew how to cook, but his English was very basic. He was frustrated because he couldn't explain his dishes to customers or talk to his suppliers. He decided to turn his kitchen into his classroom. He bought a pack of sticky notes. He went around his kitchen and labeled everything: refrigerator, oven, spatula, cutting board, flour, sugar, salt. Every day, he would see these words over and over. They became part of his environment. Then, he started buying English language cookbooks. He would read the recipes, not just for the instructions, but for the vocabulary. He learned action words like to slice, to dice, to whisk, to simmer. He learned descriptive words like savory, sweet, tangy, aromatic. He learned these words in the place where they were most relevant to him, his kitchen. Soon, he was able to describe his food beautifully to his customers. He was not just a chef anymore, He was a storyteller, sharing the passion for his food in a new language. So, how can you do this? You can learn from anything you enjoy. If you like cooking, be like Marco. If you like movies, be like Kenji. If you like fashion, read fashion blogs. The most important thing is that the topic is interesting to you. When you are interested, learning does not feel like work. A great habit is to keep a vocabulary notebook. Divide each page into 4 sections. In the first section, write the new word. In the second, write its definition in English or your language. In the third, and this is very important, write the original sentence where you found the word. In the fourth section, you must write your own sentence using the word. This last step is crucial. This is you moving the word from passive to active. You are practicing using it. You are making it your own. Let's try a little practice together. I will use a word in a sentence. The word is ambitious. The sentence is, she is a very ambitious student. She wants to get the top grade in every class. Now, ambitious means having a strong desire to be successful or powerful. Can you think of a person you know who is ambitious? It could be a friend, a family member, or even yourself. Now, try to make your own sentence using the word ambitious. For example, you could say, my brother is very ambitious. He wants to start his own company. Or, it is an ambitious plan to learn English in 1 year. Pause for a moment and create your own sentence. You are building a personal connection to the word. You are much more likely to remember it. Now let's talk about grammar. For many learners, the word grammar is a scary word. It brings back memories of difficult classes and confusing rules. Many people think grammar is about memorizing tenses and rules, but that is not the best way to look at it. Think about this. Did you study grammar rules to learn your first language as a child? You learned grammar naturally, by listening and by using the language. Grammar is simply the structure of the language. It is how we put the words together to create meaning. Our goal is to make grammar intuitive, something you feel is right, not just something you remember from a book. I remember a student named Anna from Poland. She was terrified of grammar, especially English tenses. She had a chart with 12 tenses on her wall, and she tried to memorize all the rules. It was making her stressed, and she was still making mistakes in conversation. We decided to try a different approach. I asked her to forget the chart and the rules for a while. Instead, I asked her to tell me a story. I said, Anna, tell me about your day yesterday. She started speaking. She said things like, I wake up at 7, I eat breakfast, I go to work. I gently stopped her and said, Anna, you are talking about yesterday. So we need to use the past. I woke up at 7. I ate breakfast. I went to work. We practiced this. She told me the story of her entire day, and I helped her use the simple past tense. The next day, I asked her, Anna, tell me about your typical day. What do you do every morning? She said, I wake up at 7. I eat breakfast. I go to work. And I said, perfect. That is the simple present tense. You use it for routines and habits. Finally, I asked her, what are your plans for tomorrow? She said, I will wake up at 7. I will eat breakfast. I will go to work. And I said, excellent. That is the future. In just a few days of telling stories about her own life, Anna developed a feel for the 3 most important tenses: past, present, and future. She learned them in a meaningful context. the context of her own life. It was much more effective than memorizing a chart of rules. She was connecting grammar to meaning. Some parts of grammar can feel very abstract, like prepositions, words like in, on, at. I had a student named Omar from Egypt who was constantly mixing them up. He would say, "I am at the car," instead of "I am in the car." He couldn't remember the rules. So we tried a physical approach. I gave him a small box and a coin. I told him, "Put the coin on the box." He did. "Now put the coin in the box." He did. We did this with many objects. The book is on the table. The apple is in the bowl. I will meet you at the corner of the street. We drew pictures. We made it physical and visual. He started to create mental pictures for the prepositions. Instead of trying to remember a rule, he started to feel the difference between on and in. This physical, visual learning made the abstract concept concrete for him. Focus on patterns, not rules. When you are reading or listening, pay attention to the patterns you see. You will notice that after the word enjoy, we usually use the ing form of a verb. For example, I enjoy walking in the park. You do not need to know the grammatical rule for this. You just need to notice the pattern and start using it. Let's do a short grammar practice. I want you to tell me a story, just to yourself. Tell me about what you did this morning. Try to use the simple past tense. For example, this morning, I woke up, I brushed my teeth, I had a cup of coffee, I listened to a podcast. Just say 3 or 4 sentences out loud. It does not matter if anyone hears you. The act of saying it helps to build that intuitive feeling for the past tense. You are practicing the pattern. So, when it comes to vocabulary and grammar, the secret is to make it meaningful. Learn words and grammar in the context of stories, conversations, and topics that you love. Move from passive knowledge to active use by creating your own sentences. And be patient. You are building a house, brick by brick. With a strong foundation of vocabulary and grammar, you are now ready for the next, and perhaps most important, step on your journey to fluency: listening. For anyone learning a new language, especially when you are at an intermediate level like B1, listening is the skill that can unlock everything else. It is the key that opens the door to better speaking, better vocabulary, and a better feel for the language. Think about how a baby learns to speak. For the first year or 2 of their life, they do not talk very much. What are they doing? They are listening. They are absorbing the sounds, the rhythms, the patterns of the language around them. They are building a massive library of language in their brains. Then, when they are ready, they start to speak, using what they have heard. We need to do the same thing. To become a good speaker, you must first become a good listener. But what does it mean to be a good listener? It is not just about having English music or a podcast playing in the background while you do other things. That is called passive listening. It can be a little bit helpful for getting used to the sound of the language, but it will not lead to big improvements. We need to practice active listening. Active listening is when you listen with a purpose. You are fully focused on what you are hearing. You are trying to understand the message, the details, the vocabulary, and the grammar. It is a workout for your brain. It can be tiring, but it is incredibly effective. Let's talk about a student of mine, David. David was very good at reading English. He could understand complex articles, but when he had a conversation, he struggled. He would say, "Sophia, People speak so fast. By the time I understand the first sentence, they are already on the fifth sentence. It's like a waterfall of words, and I can't catch any of them. This is a very common feeling. The problem was that David was trying to understand every single word. This is a big mistake. When you try to do that, you get stuck on a word you don't know, and you miss the rest of the message. I gave David a new strategy for active listening. I told him to find a short audio clip, maybe 1 or 2 minutes long. It could be from a podcast for learners or a news report. I told him to listen to it 3 times, and each time with a different goal. The first time, his goal was just to understand the main idea, the gist. He did not need to understand every word. I asked him, "What?" After listening one time, "Can you tell me in 1 sentence what this audio is about? Is it about sports, politics, a personal story?" He tried this. He found a short clip about a man who adopted a dog. The first time he listened, he did not understand many words, but he heard men sad, dog, happy. He was able to say, "This story is about a man who got a dog and became happy." Perfect. He understood the main idea. This made him feel successful, not overwhelmed. The second time he listened to the same clip, his goal was to understand more details. He already knew the main idea, so his brain was free to catch more information. This time, he listened for answers to questions like, what was the dog's name? Where did the man find the dog? Why was the man sad before? He listened carefully, and he was able to pick out more details. He learned the dog's name was Lucky, and the man found him at an animal shelter. The third time he listened, his goal was to focus on specific language. He could listen for new vocabulary words or interesting phrases. He heard the phrase, "changed his life for the better." He wrote it down, he looked it up, he understood it. Because he had the context of the whole story, the phrase made sense and was easy to remember. This 3-step listening process completely changed David's approach. He stopped being afraid of listening. He started to see it as a puzzle he could solve, step by step. He did this every day for 15 minutes. After a few weeks, his listening comprehension improved dramatically. He started to feel more confident in conversations because his brain was now trained to listen for the main idea first, which is what native speakers do naturally. Another great way to practice active listening is with music, which was the key for my student Chloe from South Korea. Chloe loved pop music, especially songs by British artists, but she felt sad that she couldn't understand the lyrics. So she created a Song of the Week project for herself. Every Monday, she would choose one new song. First, she would listen to it a few times just to enjoy the music. Then, she would find the lyrics online and print them out. She would read through them, looking up any new words. Her third step was to listen to the song while reading the lyrics. Like karaoke, this connected the sound to the text. Her final, and most creative step, was to print the lyrics again, but this time with some words missing. She would create a fill-in-the-blanks exercise for herself. She would listen to the song and try to write down the missing words. This was an intense listening practice. It trained her ear to catch specific words, even when they were sung quickly. Through this fun weekly project, Chloe dramatically improved her listening skills and learned so much natural, informal English, including idioms and slang. Another very powerful active listening technique is transcription. This is when you listen to a short piece of audio and try to write down exactly what you hear. This is a very intense workout for your ears. It forces you to pay attention to every single sound, every word ending, every contraction like don't or it's. You can start very small. Take one sentence from this podcast, pause the audio, and try to write it down. Then, play it again to check. Did you get it right? This exercise connects your listening skills with your writing and spelling skills. It helps you notice the small words, the a, the, in, at, that are often spoken very quickly and are hard to hear. Now, let's talk about a big challenge in listening: different accents. English is a global language. It is spoken by people all over the world, and there are many different accents. You might be used to an American accent, but then you hear someone from Scotland, or Australia, or India, and you feel completely lost. This is normal. Your ear is trained for one type of sound, and it needs to be trained to understand others. I had this experience myself. I grew up learning a very clear, standard type of British English. When I moved to the north of England for university, I felt like I had moved to a different country. The local accent, called Geordie, was so strong. People used different words, and the melody of their sentences was completely new to me. For the first month, I smiled and nodded a lot in conversations because I was too embarrassed to say I didn't understand. But nodding and smiling isn't a good communication strategy. So, I made it my mission to understand. I started watching the local news every evening. I made friends with local people and asked them to teach me some of their unique words and phrases. I listened actively, not passively. Slowly, my ear adapted. I learned to love the accent. The solution to this problem is exposure. You have to actively expose your ears to a variety of accents. How can you do this? The internet is your best friend. You can watch news from different countries, watch BBC News from the UK, ABC News from Australia, CBC News from Canada. You can listen to podcasts that feature guests from all over the world. YouTube is a fantastic resource. Search for interviews with actors, athletes, or scientists from different countries. At first, it will be difficult. Use subtitles if you need to. The goal is not to understand everything immediately. The goal is to train your brain to recognize different patterns of sound. Over time, you will find that it becomes easier and easier. You are expanding your listening ability. Let's do a little practice with listening right now. I am going to say a sentence. I want you to listen carefully and then repeat it out loud. Ready? The sentence is, "She sells seashells by the seashore." Let's try it again, a little faster. She sells seashells by the seashore. This is a tongue twister. It is a fun way to practice listening for small differences in sound, like the sound and the sh sound. Repeating the sentence also helps connect listening to speaking. So, your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to make active listening a daily habit. Spend at least 15 to 20 minutes every day doing focused listening practice. Use the 3-step method: main idea, details, language. Try Chloe's A Song of the Week project, and make an effort to listen to different accents. Listening is your gateway to fluency. The more you listen, the more your brain absorbs the natural flow, rhythm, and structure of English. This will make every other part of your language learning journey so much easier. After we build a strong foundation with mindset, vocabulary, and grammar, and after we train our ears with active listening, we arrive at the part that many people find the most frightening and the most exciting: speaking. This is the moment when you take all the English that is inside your head and bring it out into the world. For many learners, this is the ultimate goal, to be able to have a smooth, confident conversation in English. But the fear of speaking can be a huge wall. You worry about making mistakes, about your accent, about people not understanding you. Let me tell you about a student I had named Maria. Maria was from Brazil, and she was a brilliant student. She could read and understand very advanced English texts. Her grammar was almost perfect in writing, but she never spoke in class. If I asked her a question, she would blush and say, "I'm sorry, I don't know." But I knew she did know. The problem was not a lack of knowledge, it was a lack of confidence. Her specific fear, she told me, was that she would pause for too long trying to find the perfect word, and that everyone would get bored and just look away. The fear of that silence was terrifying for her. One day, I talked to her after class. She said with tears in her eyes, and in my head, I can make perfect sentences, but when I try to open my mouth, nothing comes out, or the wrong words come out. I feel so stupid. I told Maria that what she was feeling was completely normal. I also told her that there is only one way to get better at speaking. You have to speak. You cannot learn to swim by reading a book about swimming. You have to get in the water. We created a very simple plan for her. I told her, "Maria, you don't have to have a long conversation. Let's start small." Her homework for that week was to go home and speak English to herself for just 1 minute every day. She could describe her room, talk about her day, or read a short paragraph from a book out loud. The important thing was that she was using her voice to produce English words. At first, she felt very silly talking to herself, but she did it. The next week, her homework was to record herself on her phone for 2 minutes each day. She hated listening to her own voice at first. She noticed all her mistakes and her accent. I told her, "That's good. Now you are becoming your own teacher. You can hear the things you want to improve." She started to get used to the sound of her own voice speaking English. The next step was to find a safe space to speak with another person. We used a language exchange app to find a partner for her, a woman in the United States who was learning Portuguese. They agreed to talk for 30 minutes twice a week. For the first 15 minutes, they would speak in English, and for the next 15, they would speak in Portuguese. This was a perfect situation because both of them were learners. They were not afraid to make mistakes in front of each other. They helped each other. Slowly, over several months, a miracle happened. Maria started to speak in class. Just a short answer at first, then a full sentence. Then, one day, she shared a long, interesting opinion about the topic we were discussing. The other students were amazed. Maria had found her voice. She became one of the most active speakers in the class. Her journey shows us that the secret to speaking is to start small, be consistent, and create a safe environment where you are not afraid to make mistakes. Another student, Sam, used technology in a very clever way. He was a tech-savvy young man from India who was shy about his pronunciation. His idea was to use the voice-to-text feature on his smartphone, the one you use to write a message by speaking. He would switch his phone's keyboard to English. Then, he would read a sentence from a book or an article and speak it into his phone. If the phone wrote the correct sentence, he knew his pronunciation was clear enough for a machine to understand. If the phone wrote something different, he knew he had to work on that word or phrase. For example, he wanted to say, "I'll see you on Thursday," but the phone wrote, I'll see you on Tuesday. He realized his pronunciation of Thursday was not clear. It was like having a private pronunciation coach in his pocket. It was a fun game for him, and it significantly improved his clarity without the fear of talking to a person. The technique of shadowing is also incredibly powerful. Shadowing is when you listen to a native speaker and you try to repeat what they are saying at the same time, like a shadow. You are not just repeating after them, you are trying to say it with them. You should try to copy their pronunciation, their rhythm, and their intonation, the music of their voice. Let's try a little shadowing right now. I will say a simple sentence, and I want you to try to say it with me. Ready? The sentence is, "It's a beautiful day today." Let's do it. It's a beautiful day today. Now let's try another one. I'm really looking forward to the weekend. Let's say it together. I'm really looking forward to the weekend. When you do this, you are not thinking about grammar rules or choosing words. You are just focusing on the sounds. It is a physical exercise for your mouth. It trains the muscles in your tongue and lips to produce English sounds more naturally. You can do this with any audio, a podcast, an audiobook, a scene from a movie. Start with just one sentence. Pause and repeat it several times. Then try to do it with the audio. It is challenging, but it is one of the best ways to improve your pronunciation and fluency. Now let's talk about pronunciation. Many learners are worried about their accent. They want to have a perfect American or British accent. I want to tell you something very important. Your goal should not be to lose your accent. Your accent is a part of who you are, a part of your identity. There is nothing wrong with having an accent. The goal is clarity. Your goal is to be easily understood by other people. To improve your clarity, you need to focus on the specific sounds of English that are difficult for you. For many learners, sounds like the th in think and that. The difference between the L and R sounds, or the short I in ship and the long E in sheep, are challenging. The best way to practice these is to isolate them. Find lists of words with these sounds. Say them out loud while looking in a mirror. Watch how your mouth, tongue, and lips move. You can find thousands of videos on YouTube that show you exactly how to make these sounds. When you are in a conversation, remember this: communication is more important than perfection. Do not be afraid to use simple sentences. Do not be afraid to ask the other person to speak more slowly or to repeat something. It is okay to say, "I'm sorry, I don't understand. Could you say that again?" It is also okay to use gestures and your hands to help explain what you mean. The goal is connection, not a perfect performance. Let's do one last speaking practice. I want you to describe what you see around you right now in 3 simple English sentences. Just say them out loud. For example, if I were doing it, I might say, "I am in my office. There is a big window in front of me. I can see some trees outside. Now it's your turn." Just 3 simple sentences. Go ahead. By doing this, you are practicing the skill of turning your thoughts into spoken English words. This is the core of speaking. The more you do it, the easier it will become. Speaking is a skill. Like playing the piano or riding a bicycle, the more you practice, the better you get. So, be brave. Start small. Speak every day. And soon, you will find yourself speaking with more confidence and fluency than you ever thought possible. We have talked about building our mindset, our vocabulary, our grammar, and our listening and speaking skills. Now, let's explore a skill that ties all of these together and opens up a whole new world of knowledge and pleasure. Reading. Reading in English is a quiet, personal activity, but its power is immense. When you read, you are in control. You can go at your own pace. You can stop and look up a word. You can reread a sentence until you understand it. Reading is a fantastic way to build your vocabulary, see grammar in action, and improve your overall understanding of the language. But just like with listening, there is a difference between passive reading and active reading. Active reading is when you engage with the text. You ask questions. You make connections. You think about what the author is trying to say. This is the kind of reading that leads to real learning. I knew a young student named Ben who thought reading was boring. He associated it with difficult textbooks from school. He told me, "I can't read a book in English. It's too slow. I have to look up every word in the dictionary. It's not fun." The problem was not with reading itself. It was with what he was trying to read. He was trying to read classic novels that were far too difficult for his level. It was like trying to run a marathon when you have only just learned to walk. I suggested that he find something to read that he was genuinely interested in. Ben loved superheroes and comic books, so I told him to try reading some simple English comic books or graphic novels. At first, he was skeptical. He thought it was for children, but he gave it a try. He found a Spider-Man comic book. He discovered that it was perfect for him. The language was relatively simple and full of action words, and the pictures helped him understand the story even when he did not know all the words. He could see the action. He could see the emotions on the characters' faces. Ben fell in love with reading in English through those comic books. He was not just learning words, he was enjoying a story. He would read for hours without feeling like he was studying. He would come to me, excited, to tell me about the new words he learned, like thwip, the sound of Spider-Man's web, or nemesis, a long-standing rival. He was learning vocabulary in a rich, visual context. From comic books, he moved on to simple fantasy novels for young adults, and then eventually to more complex books. He discovered that reading was not boring at all. He just needed to find the right material. This is true for learners of all ages. I worked with a woman named Isabella, a retired librarian from Argentina. She thought that because she was older, her brain couldn't learn new things easily. She wanted to read English novels, but found them too hard. I introduced her to the world of graded readers. These are books that are specially adapted for language learners at different levels. She picked a level 2 romance story. It was a simple story, but it was a whole book. She read it in a week. She came to her next class holding the book like a trophy. "I did it, Sophia," she said. "I read a whole book in English." That feeling of accomplishment was incredibly powerful. She then read another, and another. She discovered she loved mystery stories. Reading gave her a new hobby in her retirement and boosted her confidence in a way she never expected. It proved to her that it is never too late to learn something new. This is the first and most important rule of reading for pleasure and growth. Read what you love. If you love fashion, read fashion blogs or magazines. If you love cars, read websites with car reviews. If you love mystery, find an easy mystery novel. When you are interested in the topic, you will be motivated to understand the text. Once you have found something to read, how can you practice active reading? One of the best techniques is to try to guess the meaning of a new word from the context before you reach for the dictionary. Let's say you're reading a sentence. The little boy was so hungry that he devoured the entire pizza. Maybe you don't know the word devoured, but you can use clues from the sentence. You know the boy was so hungry, and he ate the entire pizza. So, what do you think devoured means? It probably means to eat something very quickly and hungrily. By guessing first, you are engaging your brain like a detective. You are actively trying to solve the puzzle of the sentence. Then, you can look it up in the dictionary to confirm. This process helps the new words stick in your memory much better than just looking it up immediately. Another active reading habit is to keep a reading journal. This doesn't have to be complicated. After you read a chapter of a book or an article, just write 2 or 3 sentences in a notebook. You can write a summary of what you read. You can write your opinion about it. Or you can write down any new words or interesting phrases you found. This act of writing about what you read forces you to think more deeply about the text and helps to solidify what you have learned. Let's do a short reading practice now. I will read a very short paragraph. I want you to listen carefully and then try to summarize the main idea in just one sentence. Ready? Here is the paragraph. Is sir. The city park was full of life. Children were laughing and chasing each other on the green grass. A group of friends was having a picnic under a large oak tree. An old man sat on a bench, feeding breadcrumbs to the pigeons. The sun was shining, and a gentle breeze made the leaves dance. Now, take a moment. What is the main idea of that paragraph? How would you describe it in one sentence? You might say something like, the paragraph describes a happy and lively day at the city park. Or, it paints a picture of people enjoying a sunny day in the park. If you were able to do that, you just practiced active reading. Or active listening in this case. You listened for the overall meaning, not just the individual words. Reading is a peaceful and powerful way to immerse yourself in English. It builds a direct connection between you and the language. It will expand your world, introduce you to new ideas, and provide you with a constant source of new language to learn. So, find something you love to read, get comfortable, and open a book or an article. Your journey to fluency will be much richer for it. We've explored listening, speaking, and reading. Now we come to the final skill, the one that reinforces everything else you have learned, writing. For some people, writing in English can seem even more intimidating than speaking. When you write, your words are there on the page or the screen. Your mistakes seem permanent. But I want you to see writing not as a test, but as a tool. Writing is a powerful way to organize your thoughts, practice your grammar and vocabulary, and gain clarity and confidence in your English abilities. It slows down the language process, giving you time to think, choose the right words, and construct your sentences carefully. Think of it this way. When you speak, it is like a fast-flowing river. The words come and go quickly. When you write, it is like building a small, calm pond. You can carefully place each stone, each word, exactly where you want it to go. This slow, deliberate practice is incredibly valuable. Let me tell you about a student named Sophia from Spain. Sophia worked in marketing and needed to improve her English for her job, especially for writing emails and reports. She was very hesitant. She would spend hours writing a single short email, checking every word, worrying about every comma. It was a stressful process for her. She told me, "I feel like I have to be perfect. Because my boss and clients will see my writing. We decided to change her relationship with writing. I told her to forget about work emails for a while and start a personal writing project that was just for her, with no pressure. Sophia loved gardening. It was her passion. So, I suggested she start a simple blog about her garden, but in English. She could write about the plants she was growing, the challenges she faced, the beautiful flowers that bloomed. It would be her own personal space to play with the English language. She was nervous at first, but she tried it. Her first blog post was just 3 sentences long. It said, "Today I plant new tomatoes. The sun is warm. I hope they grow big." It was simple, but it was a start. She did not show it to anyone. The next week, she wrote a little more. She learned the English words for her favorite flowers: sunflowers, roses, tulips. She started to enjoy the process of finding the right words to describe her garden. After a few months, her blog had grown. She was writing full paragraphs. She was telling stories about her gardening adventures. Because she was writing about something she loved, it never felt like work. This low-pressure practice started to affect her work. She found that writing emails in English became easier and faster. She had turned writing from a source of stress into a source of joy. Writing doesn't have to be a lonely activity. It can also be a wonderful way to connect with others. I think of 2 of my students, Jin from China and Alex from Russia. They were both at a similar level and felt frustrated with their writing progress. They decided to become digital pen pals. They agreed to write 1 email to each other every Friday. They would write about their week, their hobbies, their families. It was not a formal assignment. It was a friendly chat. They also made a rule. They would each gently correct 2 or 3 mistakes in their friend's email. This was not criticism, it was help. They learned so much from each other's mistakes. They also learned about each other's cultures. Their English improved, and they became great friends, all through the simple act of writing emails. One of the easiest and most powerful writing habits you can start today is journaling. Get a notebook and every day, write a little bit in English. What can you write about? Anything. You can write about your day. What did you do? Who did you see? How did you feel? You can write about your goals and dreams. You can write about something interesting you learned. Your journal is a private place. No one else needs to see it. There is no judgment. You are free to make mistakes. The goal is simply to get your thoughts onto the page in English. Just 5 minutes a day can make a huge difference over time. In today's digital world, there are endless opportunities for short, informal writing practice. Do you follow any English-speaking celebrities or organizations on social media? Try writing a comment on one of their posts in English. It could be something simple like, "This is a beautiful photo," or "Thank you for sharing this interesting information." These small interactions help you use English in a real-world context. Let's do a very quick writing practice prompt. I want you to think about your plans for this evening or for tomorrow. Now, in your head, or on a piece of paper if you have one, create 3 simple sentences in English describing your plans. For example, "This evening, I am going to cook dinner for my family. Then, we will watch a movie together. I will probably go to bed early." Sarkar, go ahead, and create your own 3 sentences. This simple act of planning your future in English connects the language directly to your life. It makes it real and useful. Writing is the skill that brings all the others into focus. It solidifies your vocabulary, clarifies your understanding of grammar, and gives you a concrete way to see your progress. So, don't be afraid of the blank page. See it as an opportunity. Start small, write often, and watch your fluency grow, one sentence at a time. We have now journeyed through all the individual skills, mindset, vocabulary, grammar, listening, speaking, reading, and writing. We have seen how each piece is important. But the final step, the one that truly leads to fluency, is to stop seeing these as separate skills you study for an hour a day. The final step is to weave them all together into the fabric of your daily life. It is about creating an English lifestyle. It is about moving from studying English to living in English. Even if you do not live in an English-speaking country. What does this mean? It means creating an immersion environment right where you are. Immersion is the idea of surrounding yourself with a language, so that you are constantly hearing it, seeing it, and using it. It is the fastest way to learn. You do not have to buy a plane ticket to create this environment. You can build it in your own home and in your own mind. Think about your daily routine. How much of it can you do in English? This is a fun game to play with yourself. Let's start with your phone. Your phone is probably with you all the time. What language is it in? If you change your phone's operating system to English, you will be exposed to hundreds of English words every single day, naturally and without effort. Words like settings, or messages, no call, or missed call, alarm. At first, it might be a little confusing, but you will learn these words very quickly because you use them all the time. What about your entertainment? What do you watch on TV or online? Try watching your favorite shows or movies in English. If it is too difficult, start by using subtitles in your own language. Then, after a while, switch to English subtitles. This is a fantastic step because it connects the spoken words you hear with the written words you see. You will be amazed at how much this improves both your listening and your reading. Eventually, the goal is to be able to watch without any subtitles at all. I remember when I was seriously trying to improve my French. I decided to create a French bubble for myself. I changed my phone to French. I changed my computer's language to French. I started listening only to French radio stations and podcasts on my way to work. I found French YouTubers who talked about topics I liked, like technology and travel. I started reading the news in French every morning. At first, my head hurt. It was a lot of new information. But after a couple of weeks, something magical started to happen. I started to understand more and more without translating in my head. The language started to feel normal, like a part of my daily reality. You can even do this with your family. I know a wonderful family, the Garcia family, who moved to the United States from Colombia. The parents wanted their children to succeed in school, but they also wanted the whole family to learn English together. So they created a family rule. 1 hour every evening, during and after dinner, was English hour. During that hour, everyone had to try their best to speak only in English. The parents and the children would talk about their day. They would play simple games like I Spy in English. At first, it was difficult, and there was a lot of laughing and pointing. But it became a special time for them. They were not just studying, they were connecting as a family on a shared mission. The children's English improved rapidly at school, and the parents' confidence grew. They created their own little immersion school right at their dinner table. But perhaps the most powerful and advanced part of creating an English lifestyle is learning to think in English. This is the ultimate goal. When you can think directly in English, you do not have to translate from your native language anymore. This is what allows you to speak more fluently and naturally. Your speech becomes faster because you are cutting out the middle step of translation. But how do you start thinking in English? It sounds very difficult. The secret is to start small. Do not try to think complex, philosophical thoughts in English from day one. Start with single words. As you go about your day, just name the objects you see in your head in English. You see a car, think car. You see a tree, think tree. You drink a glass of water, think water. This is level 1. It is simple, and you can do it all day long. Once you are comfortable with that, move on to level 2. Moi thinking in simple sentences. Narrate your own life in your head. For example, when you are waking up, you can think, I am waking up now. I need to get out of bed. I am a little tired. When you are making breakfast, you can think, I am going to make some coffee. I need milk and sugar. This coffee smells good. These are simple, internal conversations with yourself. No one can hear you, so there is no pressure. After you get good at that, you can move to level 3, unad, conversational thinking. When you have a decision to make, try to have that internal debate in English. For example, what should I have for dinner tonight? I could have pasta, or I could make a salad. Pasta is faster, but salad is healthier. I think I'll have the salad. This process of learning to think in English takes time and conscious effort. But it is a game changer. It makes English a part of your thought process, not just a subject you study. So, let's have one final practice prompt to bring this all together. For the next 5 minutes after this podcast ends, I challenge you to try and think only in English, just for 5 minutes. It doesn't matter how simple your thoughts are, narrate what you are doing. Now I am turning off the podcast. I am going to stand up. I will walk to the kitchen to get a glass of water. Try it. See how it feels. It might be hard. It might be strange. But it is the first step towards making English your own. We have come to the end of our long journey together today. We have talked about so much, starting with the power of a positive mindset, building our foundation with vocabulary and grammar, opening our ears through active listening, finding our voice through speaking practice, expanding our world through reading, and solidifying our knowledge through writing. And finally, we talked about how to bring it all together by creating an English lifestyle. I hope you feel that you now have a clearer map for your path to fluency. Remember all the stories we shared today. Carlos the gardener, Lena and her grandchildren, Marco the chef, Maria who found her voice, and the Garcia family at their dinner table. They are all people just like you. Their stories show us that the journey is possible. Remember that this journey is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be days when you feel motivated and you make great progress. And there will be days when you feel tired or stuck. That is okay. That is part of the process. On those difficult days, remember the story of Carlos and his garden. Just water your plant. Do one small thing. Listen to a song. Learn one new word. Write one sentence. Every small action keeps you moving forward. The dream of becoming fluent in English is a beautiful one. It is a dream of connection, of understanding people from different cultures, of accessing more knowledge, of opening up new opportunities for your life and your career. It is a challenging dream, but it is absolutely achievable. You have the ability to do it. You just need the right map, the right tools, and the right mindset. And I hope our conversation today has given you all three. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. It has been a pleasure to be your guide on this part of your journey. Keep learning, keep practicing, and most importantly, be kind to yourself along the way. You are doing a wonderful thing. This is Sophia from Best English Podcast, wishing you all the best on your adventure to fluency. Goodbye for now.